This is your one and only Farm Daddy, and I welcome you back to my channel. Last year has been a very, very wonderful year for us farmers, and wonderful in the sense that it depends on the perspective at which you are looking at it. Now, it's not been easy for us farmers, especially farmers in Nigeria. If I say so, by now you know where I'm headed. Last year the federal government, introduced a policy that crippled, local farmers in the country, and it has not been easy. Prices of foodstuffs went down. Prices of farm inputs still remain the same. Some went up, and it was not easy for local farmers. Some farmers had to sell off, or they start selling their crops, to just break even, not even to make any gain. And some lost, some in millions of nairas, and it was not a good sight. So many farmers have turned their attention to something else because the level or the rate of disappointment is too much. They can't just keep up with putting in their effort, putting in their energy into the farming, and then ending up, not making anything out of it. So most farmers have, decided to look elsewhere. And if you say most farmers, I am part of the most farmers. Sorry to put it that way. But it's not like I'm looking elsewhere outside farm. No. I am still a farmer, and I will still farm. Most farmers just want to, look into other alternatives. And me personally, I don't think I'm going to go deep into farming of crops this year. No, I'm not going to go into that because I'm looking at the trend. I'm looking at the things that are happening around, pertaining agriculture in this country. And except you are an exporter or you deal in purchasing bulk agricultural produce and exporting them outside the country, except that one, I don't see any way you can break even in this current situation we are in right now. So, me personally, this is what I'm going to do this year. Um, God's willing, if I have more strength, if I have the capacity to go into what I do best, I won't go into crops that were enlisted in the, you know, essential commodities, as the government puts it, to import those commodities into the country. I'm talking about crops like maize, I'm talking about crops like rice, guinea corn, in fact, anything, cereals, grains, I'm not going into, So I'm going to focus my attention on crops that, you know, are in demand, crops that are not actually in the essential commodities. So this is what I'm going to focus on. Key crop out of those crops is granite. Of course, granite is a very, very essential commodity, and so far the price of granite have not crashed. In fact, people sell the granite as they have been selling it normally. So it's good. And if you consider the capital intensity of cultivating granite, it's not as intensive as that of corn or rice or other. So granite essentially. Then maybe you can squeeze in soybeans, and that. But even if I'm going to go ahead and plant corn, I'm not going to allow the corn to dry up before threshing and selling. No, I'm going to sell it off fresh from the farm. This I did that last year, and this was how I was able to break even. Gain back my investment, the money I invested into the farming. Most people did not do that, therefore they lost a lot of money, or they just broke even, no gain. So you just wasted time and labor into the farm without actually gaining anything. That is not the reason why someone will be farming. But another thing again I want to say is another aspect of agriculture that I want to dive into, another aspect of farming that I'm diving into mainly this year is livestock. Um, I've seen how manageable and lucrative livestock farming is. Last year I got a few chickens while I was still doing some crop farming, and I just sold them like after 8 9 weeks, and the result was something very very great. Livestock farming is another thing, to consider. You know, goats, chickens, turkeys, guinea fowl, goose, ducks. Anything livestock. Even if you don't have huge amount of money to go into cattle farming, which actually requires a lot of money to go into, you can start with the simple ones like goats and chickens, ducks, guinea fowls, all these smaller ruminants, grass cutters, and the rest. Livestock farming is actually very lucrative, and I'm diving putting more attention into livestock farming this year. So the whole idea of making this video is to keep you guys updated on what's happening, my intention going forward into this year's farming season, and depending on how it all turns out, if the conditions are favorable, if policies are being um, reevaluated and made again to favor the farmers that are doing all these crops, fine and good, then we can go back. If not, for now, we just have to be smart, we just have to be wise. We are doing this to make a living. It's not a charity work. Although we are feeding the country, but also we need to sustain ourselves. So self-sustainability for us, for families, for everyone that's around us. So we won't do it, without having a gain or without gaining something in it. This is why we do what we do. So the attention now is shifting, and we have to shift to the trend. You understand? So me personally, focus this year will be on livestock. Maybe subsequently I'll make videos, telling people details about the livestock to go about and how to do that. I've started making advances, making moves in securing some of this livestock for myself. So this is just me bringing you up to date, news and happenings around me, and hopefully, the conditions will be favorable for us farmers this year, and we will smile, and be happy. Thank you very much for watching. See you on the next one. Bye.